Guess what we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's no CBA deal. The players don't want to agree to what the owners are proposing. Perfect. Grab Asia Wilson, grab Sabrina, grab Sophie, grab the superstar, the main attraction, Caitlin Clark, and let's start.
That's not hyperbole. It's not a click-driven hot take. It's a serious proposal being discussed right now as the WNBA and its Players Association remain deadlocked with no collective bargaining agreement in place. The league has announced a moratorium on all business operations. Free agency is frozen. Contract negotiations are on hold. And the divide between ownership and players has become so bitter that some are openly suggesting the unthinkable. Shut it all down and start over.
Wouldn't notice the difference. Nobody would say to themselves, oh wow, the talent has really dropped off this year. Nobody's going to be saying that. In fact, they'll be saying, wow, it's real calm this season. There's not so much complaining and whining going on this season. Start fresh with players that deserve money and with players that can.
Here's what makes this moment so critical. The previous CBA expired on Friday, and the two sides failed to agree on an extension. They are now operating under status quo, meaning the old working conditions technically remain in place, but no actual business can be conducted. Teams were prepared to extend qualifying offers to free agents under the expired agreement, but players refused to sign anything while negotiations over a new salary structure, one that includes massive pay increases, are still ongoing. As a result, 84 of the league's 86 veteran players are currently free agents, all waiting for a new CBA before signing contracts. The main sticking point is revenue sharing. Owners have offered to increase the player share from 9% to 15%. The players are demanding 30% of total revenue before expenses are deducted. That gap represents hundreds of millions of dollars over the life of the deal.
You guys think in the comments section below. Like the video and subscribe. These players are so committed to the downfall of their own league. They've tried forever to get noticed by the mainstream. In comes Caitlin Clark. Finally, they get noticed. They've tried so long to get paid what they think that they're owed. In comes Caitlin Clark. Owners actually see someone that can make them dollar signs and they say, you know what?
Now let's talk about what actually changed to give players this leverage. For 27 years, the WNBA operated at a loss. Attendance was modest. Television ratings barely registered. Corporate sponsorships were limited. The league survived largely because NBA owners subsidized it as a goodwill effort and a long-term investment in growing the game. Then Caitlin Clark arrived in April 2024. The Indiana Fever went from averaging 4,467 fans per home game in 2023 to selling out every game, and their road games became de facto sellouts wherever they played. Television viewership exploded. The Fever's July 2nd game against the Las Vegas Aces drew 2.3 million viewers on ESPN, the most-watched WNBA game in 23 years. Corporate sponsors that had never touched women's basketball suddenly wanted in. Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, and Wilson all signed major deals.
Players believe that they're entitled to more money. The old guard fans have brainwashed them into thinking that they are entitled.
This is where the tension originates. Owners looked at those numbers and saw something they had never seen before: real profitability. Not next year. Not 5 years from now. Right now. That brought them to the negotiating table, willing to compromise in ways they never had before. Maximum contracts rising above $1 million. Average salaries exceeding $500,000. Minimum salaries reaching $250,000. Charter flights for all teams. Better hotels. Expanded benefits across the board. That's a massive leap. The average WNBA salary in 2023 was approximately $113,000. The owner's proposal would more than quadruple that figure.
And Women's National Basketball Players Association have reached an agreement on a moratorium for league business, sources told ESPN on Monday. The moratorium is necessary because the sides failed to reach an agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement or an extension of the previous one by Friday's deadline. The sides continue to negotiate on a new CBA amid what's become a bitter impasse as they work toward what both sides acknowledge will be a transformative deal. They remain far apart on several key issues, including chiefly what a revenue sharing system should look like. Now, is it really bitter on the owner side? Probably not. They think they're going above and beyond with some of the things that they're willing to give.
But here's the Players Association's argument. They say those revenue projections are driven almost entirely by Caitlin Clark's drawing power. And if one player is responsible for generating that level of value, then the entire player pool deserves a much larger share because the league markets the players as a collective product. They point to the NBA, where players receive roughly 50% of basketball-related income. They point to the NWSL, where players negotiated revenue shares approaching 50%. They ask why WNBA players should accept 15% when athletes in every other major professional league receive at least 40%. Owners counter that the WNBA still carries massive overhead costs, expansion fees, arena construction, infrastructure investments. They argue that allocating 30% of revenue before expenses would bankrupt half the league, particularly smaller market franchises that don't benefit from Caitlin Clark's
Players are bitter because they think that they're owed something that they haven't earned. The players are bitter. The players have things to lose. Well, not all of the players, but the players in the negotiating rooms. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. They would love it if WNBA folds. Unrivaled gets some players. Maybe that league turns to 5-on-5. They already see a future for Unrivaled. Breanna Stewart earlier this weekend said, oh man, it's so hard to compartmentalize. I mean, after the games, then I gotta go and take emails and phone calls and take places on this and take places on that. Wouldn't it just be easier if that league didn't exist anymore? That's what she's saying to herself.
And the bitterness being referenced isn't just about money anymore. It's personal. Players Association President Nneka Ogwumike and Vice President Breanna Stewart have been vocal on social media, saying they feel disrespected by the owner's proposal. They've framed it as part of the league's long history of undervaluing its athletes. Several veteran players have given interviews suggesting that owners are attempting to exploit Caitlin Clark's popularity without properly compensating the players who built the foundation she stands on. Meanwhile, ownership sources have leaked to reporters that they believe the players are negotiating in bad faith, making demands they know can't be met. Some owners privately speculate that certain union leaders may have conflicts of interest. Breanna Stewart co-founded Unrivaled, a new 3-on-3 league that pays top players significantly more for a shorter season. Some owners have questioned whether Stewart even wants the WNBA to survive, fearing Unrivaled could become the dominant women's basketball product if the league collapses.
Massive increases in compensation is still being bargained. All but 2 of the league's veterans and free agents this offseason in anticipation of a new CBA. The moratorium will halt those initial stages of free agency in which teams would seek to deliver qualifying offers and core designations to players. Just start fresh. Just start fresh. Call up Caitlin Clark and say, hey CC, we're moving on. You want to play in the WNBA? You could be our first player. Call Sophie. Hey Sophie, you want to come play in the WNBA? You'll be our first player. What are the steps to just tear that up and start new? Seriously, fans won't care. Let me rephrase. The fans that actually move the needle won't care.
That moratorium is significant. Under normal circumstances, free agency would have opened on January 21st. Teams would be making offers, and players would be signing contracts. Instead, everything is frozen. The Chicago Sky can't negotiate with free agents. The Los Angeles Sparks can't extend qualifying offers. Players planning to change teams are stuck in limbo. The timing makes this especially dangerous. Training camps are scheduled to begin in early May, and the season is set to tip off shortly thereafter. If there's no CBA agreement by mid-March, teams won't have enough time to assemble rosters. If negotiations drag into April, the entire season could be at risk. While the league and the Players Association have agreed to extend the moratorium to keep negotiations alive, sources on both sides describe talks as tense and unproductive. The gap between the two positions hasn't narrowed in weeks.